There you go. Everybody's awake? Good. Feel like you guys just saw me. Here we go. What do you got? You guys ready? Let's go. Let's go. Get that shit set up. Let's go. Hurry up.
No, I got a question on Ziggy. How much do you think his contract has played into him not being on the field here of late?
I mean, next question. Let's talk about something real important here.
What's going on with him? He has been close.
Look, we give an injury report every single week. You know, the guy's trying every single day to get back out there. So, I mean, that's what it is. Like, don't make it anything more than that. That guy's a competitive guy, wants to play football. He's trying to do the best he can to help this team. So, he's day by day. We're taking it day by day, and we're trying to get him ready to go as soon as he can go. He'll help us.
Talked a lot this year about not just running the ball, but running it when the other team maybe knows that you're probably going to try and run it. And
Yeah.
you had success on the goal line and also in some third down situations. How much does that mean just
Yeah.
for the team?
Those are important plays. Certainly in those situations are critical. And I would say, one of the things kind of just with the different back combinations that we use, we tend to see now as we look at a set of games here, we're seeing some different trends for teams playing the different running backs different ways. Obviously, when LeGarrett's in there, there's a lot more loaded boxes. There's a little bit more pressure. Those are harder run plays to run against. So those 1 or 2 yard runs that they know, maybe they may be run situations, like you're saying, the goal line, things like that. They become tough yardage to get. So it's good that our guys up front understand that. They're trying to block the different looks. They're trying to handle the different schemes that we're seeing from that standpoint. And I think those are tough yards to get, and those are physical plays for everybody. I would say this too. I think our wide receivers are doing a great job. I think you can really look at some of those big plays that we've had, and also some of the tough plays that we've had, where those guys are just going in there and they're trying to do the best they can to, either get up onto the extra guy in the box, whether it's a loaded box situation or a force player, and try to drive him out of there, which is huge for us. When those guys are blocking well along with the guys up front, we have the possibility for those big plays. So make sure we give enough credit to those guys. They're doing a good job there.
There's the other side of that. You've been in this spot, for a long time. As a defensive play caller, what kind of pressure does on a team succeeding and winning those plays? What kind of heat does it put on the defensive play calling?
Yeah, it does. You got to really look at the problems, and we've certainly had our share this year in those situations. When a team can run the ball and they can control the game up front, it's really not a very settling feeling defensively. You got to really take a look at what you're doing fundamentally, and making sure that everybody's in the right position so that it can be corrected. And then at that point, is there anything scheme-wise that you need to do to, give extra help? Knowing that when you do that, you may open up some other areas, to the offense that they can exploit at that point. So it is a very difficult balance, to kind of handle that. Sometimes you got to make sure that you just kind of trust the process as you go through the game, especially depending on what part of the game that's happening. But certainly when those situations come up, you're going to have to adjust defensively.
What does it take for a guy to really make it 10 years in the league when he's not maybe obviously kicker, punter, or a star quarterback, but for everyone else? What does it really take for a guy to make it a decade?
I mean, it probably depends on the individual.
Going back to the receivers blocking real quick, Golden Tate had a really nice block on Blunt. I think it was the second touchdown, if I remember correctly. Can you just walk us through that play and what you saw from Golden and his blocking it up?
Yeah, I think, Golden does a really good job. He's tough, he just kind of goes in there and he plays with really good leverage. And he just kind of gets on him and he keeps his feet alive. And a lot of times, that's just what the backs need. They just need to see a little bit of a leverage position by the wide receiver, and then they can cut off of it. But Kenny Galladay had some good blocks. Marvin had some great blocks, yesterday and last week too. Sprung the touchdown last week for us. So I think those guys being in position, it's hard, when you're in space, especially to fit up some of those DBs, keep your feet and be able to stay with them. Those guys spend a lot of time on defeating blocks on the other side of the ball. And I think that's just in one area right now where, I would say that's kind of been a good difference maker for us. We got to keep it up, obviously, but those three guys and, really the tight end position too, but just kind of some of those blocks in space, I would say that are real difficult. And Golden specifically, just going back to your question, he does a lot of that dirty work down in there too, because he's usually closer to the formation, being in his normal alignment. So he's got to kind of dig some of those guys out and, get in there pretty quick, which he does a good job of.
How bad is Jamal Agnew's knee injury?
You know what? We're going through and evaluating everything today, so we'll get that report out when we get to it. But there's a process that the doctors are going through right now.
Is it possible that it's a season ender?
I mean, again, I'm not going to speculate on anything until I get information. I'm not a doctor.
We've seen Matt, I know you talk a lot about getting better from September to October. Based on the performance and what you saw yesterday from that game, how far along and how do you think that's working
Yeah.
for you guys?
Hopefully we are getting better. I think we are. I would say there's still some things that after getting done watching all the tape, that I'm probably going to make sure we get corrected pretty quick here. Coming out of yesterday's game, it wasn't really all perfect from that aspect of it. So a lot of things that we need to improve on that I know at some point here will catch up to us if we don't, as we kind of work through it. So some of it's scheme, some of it's technique, some of it's, I obviously got to coach some things better and get them kind of handled from that standpoint. But it's early in October, so hopefully we can kind of keep progressing. But I think, I hope we're moving in the right direction. I think it looks like that on the field. I feel like it during the games. I feel like the guys are, they're on it. There's a play here or there, maybe in all the games where things could change, and go either way. Same is true yesterday. A player here the other way, and obviously it would have been a better day for Green Bay. But we just got to try to keep eliminating some of those things and some of those situations that come up, and just try to. The more we can be consistent with that, then I think we'll be in good shape.
We've seen this significant production jump from Kenny Galladay from a consistency standpoint. How much of that is the culmination of doing a bunch of the little things right, from his releases off the line to better high points to even the blocking, kind of setting up some of the other stuff for him?
Sure. I think we've talked about Kenny for quite a while here now, and kind of going in to this year, and I think he's doing a great job at just trying to improve. And like I mentioned, maybe in training camp or the spring, the biggest thing for him is just he's going to have to recognize a lot more defense now. There's a lot of different coverages that are coming his way. There's a lot of different, fronts, doubles, bracket type situations that he's running into that he's got to really just recognize and play through and try to handle the best he can. The great part about it is just his competitiveness overall. Like you said, to mention doing the details, doing the little things, the blocking, the maybe some of the plays where he may draw a little bit more attention and free somebody else up. So those are big. Those are big responsibilities in the offense and kind of help everything fit together for all the guys in the field. And so certainly he's working really hard. That's great. And he's like I said, he's a mentally tough guy, and he's really trying to study and learn. So it's been good, but it'll get a little bit more difficult here as we move forward. I think teams obviously will do certain things that we haven't seen before, and we've got to be ready to handle them.
What are your sort of goals, objectives during the bye? Do you use it to get ahead, to fix what's gone wrong, to get away a minute? What do you sort of do?
Yeah, bye week, it's a good combination really of all those things. I think for us, it's a good opportunity for us to get healthy or kind of pull off a little bit from that aspect of it. But we have to get some things done through the course of the week. It's a good mental week for us. I think there's a lot of things that we have to take a look at through the first course of the season here, and like I had mentioned before, there's a lot of plays that'll repeat. It's a copycat league, so there's some things that have hurt us so far in the season will come back up at some point here in the next set of weeks, and we got to make sure we have those handled. Some of the things that have come up that maybe hurt us early in the season, we've done a good job of, and then there's been some new plays that have kind of popped up that are either offensively some new defenses that we're seeing, or defensively some new offensive plays that have hurt us, and then definitely special teams also, just to try to improve all of that. And then it's really a big week for us. It's just a big week to make sure that we're doing things that we need to do the right way and get back to some fundamental technique work, which, through the course of first part of the season usually tends to get put on the back burner a little bit because of the different kind of game plans and schemes and opponents and things like that, which is why it's so important during training camp to get as much fundamental work as possible. So hopefully get a little bit more time to do that this week too.
How much does this bye break help young players? Rookies just kind of reset and refocus when they don't have a game plan where you can all let them come back and sort of pick it up again?
I think, it's probably the same for all the guys, really. I think the rookies, for them, biggest thing is just routine, understanding the routine of the NFL season. It is a long season, and it is a grind, and it's a little bit different for those guys. By the time we get out of, preseason, and by the time we get out of training camp, you're probably, 3/4 of the way through a normal college season. So, it's a long haul for these guys. They've got to kind of just regroup and get refocused back into the next part of the season coming up, and their training, their mental preparation. It's a good opportunity for them to study and learn from some of the mistakes that have come up. But I think that's true for everybody. I think whether you're a young player or a veteran, I think there's always something to learn.
Most teams rotate defensive linemen for good reason. Romeo's really been a workhorse for you guys. I think he played over 70 snaps. What is the value of having a guy that can handle that level of cardio at that size for you when you're scheming a defense?
You know what? I think we're obviously in a game yesterday where it's pretty difficult to get some of those substitutions out there, so we were prepared for that. And sometimes some of those reps get skewed based on the situation. But just in general with him, I think he's a guy that obviously came here and he's in great shape. He's been working really hard to understand the system and the scheme, and just had an opportunity to play, and it's been productive for us. So we just keep building on that as we go through. But we do like to. We do like to get those guys rotated out when we can and keep everybody fresh as possible, knowing especially if it's going to be a long game or a difficult game. But, he's doing a good job. He's got a lot to learn, though. He's got a lot to improve on. He got here late, so there's a lot of little detail stuff that we're getting him caught up on, which this will be a great week to do that. Okay. All right. Thanks. Appreciate it.